Hi, I'm Nicole.
And I'm Leah.
Welcome to the author narrator sessions, where we take you behind the scenes of making the audiobooks for the Song of the King's Heart trilogy. This week, I asked readers on my Facebook page, for those who have listened or read Origins, what they think is coming in Blood and Chaos and what they're expecting. And for those who have read Blood and Chaos, what are the stakes now for the characters at the end of that book before the third one. I really love this response from a reader, Stephanie. She listened to the audible versions of Origins, and she said, I love the audio version of Origins. So much tension and foreboding had built up by the end. I'm anticipating increased treachery and drama. Don't trust anyone, my gut is telling me, except of course for Natasa, whose voice is a comfort. Looking forward to the audio version of book 2. So book 2, Blood and Chaos, is available on print. And Leah is working on the audible version of that right now. So we're kind of blending timelines here a little bit, but yeah. So, what did you think? You read Origins and narrated it, and then I gave you Blood and Chaos, and you read it. Now you're writing it or narrating it and working on it. And I've given you Civilization's End, but you're saving it.
Right.
So you're kind of a good one in here too. So what do you think about Stephanie's comments and how that resonates with your experience?
I think that's a good analysis. When I finished reading the first book and even narrating it, I really had an idea of where I thought it was going to go. I knew it was a trilogy. I knew it needed to be split. You and I had some conversations about writing the story as one and separating it. And so I really just thought, well, technically the second story is got to be gripping. Otherwise, and it delivered. When I read it, I thought, oh my gosh, I actually think I like this one better than the first one. And I loved the first one. And I couldn't put it down. I finished it in 2 evenings. I was like, I was just I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm not just saying it, I was reading it. And part of that was because for me, as how I approach stories, I'm very character driven. Plot and theme and place matter to me. They need to be a foundation. They need to be there, but character arcs need to, that's my hook. And you have a lot of characters. And in this book, there's more that happens. And they're you get to know them better. A lot of them, you get to know them better. And some of them, their dramas and their arcs advance. And so I must say, though, when you and I had a conversation about what this book was going to be, and when you gave me the book and you just said no spoilers, but there's a shift that happens, and I think that drove some of my reading, because I would say, I think I know what the shift is. I think it's got to be this or this. It's got to be. And I'm reading the chapter and going, oh no, it's not that. It's not. And so I had to constantly evaluate based on what the characters were doing. So right. I agree with that comment that the reader made, because there was definitely intrigue in this story, in the second story, of you just going, oh, this is between the characters. You're seeing how they're maneuvering.
They're manipulating.
They're manipulating and maneuvering. It's not just cut and dry of okay, it's a battle and this, scene by scene by scene. It's an internal battle too, of how do we establish power, and then with the shifts happening. So I definitely thought there is intrigue there for sure. And there is some shade that happens. So I agree with that comment. I definitely just, honestly, in this moment, in this book, they became a little more human to me. It was a very effective introduction in Origins. And this book, I found myself from time to time just going, oh, I really wish they wouldn't have done that. Disappointed. You're getting invested in someone's behavior. You might be rooting for someone, or you might be going, no, you shouldn't have done that.
Your best moment.
Right. Not your best moment. I hope not even in the next book, but like the next chapter, you recognize that and grow, you know, like, so there are moments like that.
And that happens, and for others,
And sadly, no.
growth, but it's not necessarily positive for everyone else in the courts.
Yeah. And, you know, for me, I saw like, just like with, when I was commenting on intrigue, some of the characters, there were, I think, especially with, for me, I found with Nefa and with Ankmakis, there was a lot of internal anguish that they were going through. And how do you proceed with that, you know, with learning something new and dealing with it,
Yeah.
with or without your support.
Point. Yeah, so Neferu, you mentioned Nefa, and for people that haven't read Blood and Chaos yet, that's Neferu Ankmat, and it's mentioned in Origins. That's her nickname that Hecataeus, Natasa's father, has for her, and but she gets a revelation right in the beginning that's painful for her, and and so she has to navigate that the entire part of Blood and Chaos, because while there's the battle that Ankmakis has to deal with his father and his brother out against the Potomac, you know, empire, there's also the battle within the temple and the religion, because like any society, behind the king is the real power. And Hugo Nefor's power, his power to take that crown and be the leader of the rebellion, was granted to him by the priesthood, both the priesthood within the kingdom that he takes and within the Potomac kingdom. The priests are also working against Ptolemy the fourth and fifth, Philopator and then Epiphanes, in order for the rebellion to succeed, because they've chosen this king. And so you have this split within the priesthood and the priestesses on how to best go forward with the war also, and their own practices and how they support that king. And that was a very interesting, and that's the heart actually of all the pain, not what's happening on the battlefield, even though that's bloody and painful and injury and people dying and so much heartache. It's not even the driving force of evil that's happening within the temples that's deciding everyone's fate.
And then, you know, part of what I read too into it is, like with anyone that's in a position of power, this is not just one-to-one. Hugronifer has a family, and they're aging. And if anyone who's ever had a family and watching the kids grow up, what they say they want, or they're now inserting themselves into the mix. And so it is a little bit about that personal power too. That
planning. How do you step down and allow the next generation, and how do you help them? And I would say he doesn't do a very good job.
No, I don't think so. But there's also like, well, for example, what I was saying about this is a newer level of learning a little bit more of the characters. We definitely start to see more in Blood and Chaos what the princesses think. They had a role in book one, and now they've aged and their role has progressed. And what do they do? And so, like what you were talking about behind the throne, there's power behind the throne. There's also people vying for power, or there's people who are saying, I've waited long enough, you know, type of that kind of energy, and how that might play with intrigue, like what your reader is saying about treachery, etc.
Right.
There's
who
do you trust? What will happen? There's also a good, like, I like how you play with, there are moments in this book that I find very interesting of, you know, it's like a change of scenery, like elsewhere in the island, you know, kind of thing, like elsewhere in the, you know, these characters simultaneously are doing their own thing, and it's completely different from what the main characters and the drivers of the political change are happening, yet they have a role. So I really thought it was very timely in today to, you know, kind of mirror that. Yeah, they're the leaders, and there are also people who are saying, yeah, we got work to do too, and we're going to continue to do it. And whether or not they know or should know
Right.
is
You know.
their journey.
Yeah.
So there's action happening, for sure.
Well, and another element that's there that is a character that I have found interesting is Eleni, Natasa's younger sister, and the role of innocence versus your own desire to be seen in your family when your older sister overshadows everything. And she has much more of a voice in the third book, because she grows up. I mean, there's a key piece of it. They grow up. The third book also has the children of the princess and princesses. They grow up. So it's a, you know, they hold this empire for 20 years, 20 plus years. And Ankmakis himself holds the crown for 16 years. So this is a story that continues, but she's, you know, a baby in the first book, and now she's a preteen towards or, you know, the end, like a middle schooler, say 6th, 7th, 8th grade girl, somewhere in there, and her responses to what's going on and what her own role is, without, you know, giving any spoilers away. She's more important than one would think, because even within your own home where you think everything is okay, things might not be okay.
Yeah. And there's that, I felt that there was a vibe in the book through the characters, but also through sense of place of what should be seen and what should be hidden. So as far as like information, and that also what you're saying with Eleni, it plays with who should be heard and who shouldn't, and what those characters choose to do rightly or wrongly in order to be heard or seen.
Or to be seen. Yeah.
And how some of that is just natural time and place, you know, you're growing up, and some of that is, you know, you've put me in the shadow for so long, you know, that kind of family dynamic comes through.
Well, then you throw in a war where she has had to see injured soldiers and tend to them for probably too young. She was too young when it started, her responsibilities.
Right.
So, you know, there's that too. So, you know, don't trust anyone is the rule of the book for book 3 or 2. I mean, for Blood and Chaos, for sure. Stephanie is right. That is your gut. Your gut is right. Now, Stephanie is someone who listened to Origins, and she did purchase and is reading Blood and Chaos in print, but she's a huge Audible fan. So she definitely wonders when or what, if she can't wait. She's looking forward to the audiobook, even though she has the print book, which actually we'll discuss a bit in our next episode about audiobooks. But what's, you know, what do I tell them? What do you
I'm so excited to share it with you. I am partway through it. And I do believe it will be coming out soon, this season for sure. I don't know when these videos are being posted, so I don't want to put a date, but it's coming soon. I'm so excited. And you won't be disappointed for sure. It's good. It's good intrigue.
Well, I just can't wait either. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Talk soon.
Okay, bye.